Hey guys, thanks for watching my video. So I decided to build a pub because I've been thinking, I'm excited about pubs. I'm going, I don't know if I've already mentioned this before, but I'm going back to England in the summer for a couple of months to go and see everybody. So I'm pretty excited about being able to go to the pub with my friends again. And it just kind of got me thinking, if I owned a pub, what would it look like? So that's what this build is all about. Just thinking about, how cool it would be to run my own pub. And it got me thinking about business ideas, particularly because my boss at the moment is quite a character, and he often comes to me with business ideas. So just for a little bit of perspective, so to put it into context, my boss is the director of the company that I work for. Let's call him Darnell. He's quite a funny character, and he's also, in my inexperienced, I guess you could call it, well, I would say experienced, in my opinion, as nice as he is, he's also quite incompetent, I think. And I don't really know how he's got where he's got today, but he's really made a good life for himself, so I can only be, admirable for that. But he's a nice guy, that's the main thing. He's a nice guy, but he just, bless him, he doesn't really know what he's doing, I don't think. Because every time I go over to his desk, he's always exclusively watching YouTube videos, or he's following the news. Like, he's just got the BBC News up. He doesn't know how to use any of our systems. He's admitted that before, bless him. But Darnell's been going through this phase recently where he will just call me over to his desk. He's never called me by my name. He only ever calls me mate, because he knows it's a British saying, because obviously everyone I work with is American. And so he's never called me by my name. He only ever calls me mate. But I don't mind that. That's fine. But we've been so busy lately, and I often find that I just don't really, have time to do anything, scratch my arse even, because we're so fucking busy. And he sits right behind me, and he often will just start shouting for no reason, and will just be like, mate, I need you over here. And I'll be like, I'm just on the phone, Darnell. And he'll be like, no, this is emergency. I need you over here now. So I'll stop what I'm doing, and then I'll go over to him, and I'll be like, what's wrong? And he'll say, so, business idea. And I'm like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah, I've got a business idea. I just want to run it past you. So I'm like, okay, what's your business idea? He's like, I'm thinking cars, right? Why don't we, as if we're going to go into this as a partnership, it's like, why don't we buy some run-down, broken old cars, and then we'll sell them on for profit? And I was like, a lot of people do that. My brother does that, Do you know how to fix up cars? And he was like, no. Do you know how to fix up cars? I guess he assumed I was some kind of master technician, because I know a lot about cars, but I don't know how to fix them. And I was like, no, I don't know how to fix cars. And he said, well, that's fine. We'll just get, we'll take them to a dealer, we'll get them to fix them, and then we'll sell them on for profit. And he was like, what do you think? And I said, well, I think when you take into consideration the cost of parts and labour, especially for older cars, parts are difficult to obtain, I don't think we'd be able to make too much money, because most of the time the real money maker in that is if you're going to restore the cars yourself, Now, I might be wrong. This is just my own humble opinion. I know a fair bit about cars, not a lot, but that was my advice. And he was like, oh, right, great, yeah. No, of course, thanks, mate, really appreciate that. So I was like, okay, all right, I'm just going to go back to work now. Yep, okay, cool. Next day, he's like, mate, come here. I'm like, Darnell, just in the middle of something, mate. Just in the middle of something. He's like, it's important. So I go over. I'm like, what's up? And he says, business idea. I'm like, for fuck's sake, what now? So he said, what about if we go to Party City and buy a load of their, birthday banners, then we rent them out so that people don't have to buy banners. And I was like, well, do they not, do that themselves? Do they not rent them out? And he was like, I don't know. And I said, well, we should probably find out, because if you're thinking about, running a business that way, you should probably find out whether they already have something like that. And also, this is completely out of my league here, because I don't really know much about party supplies, but I kind of feel like if you're trying to run a legitimate business, you probably shouldn't, I just kind of have a feeling you shouldn't do it off other people's work. I feel like you should probably create the product yourself, or have some kind of partnership with the person who's created the product. So he's like, oh yeah, right, yeah, thanks mate. So then I'm like, is that everything? He's like, yep, you can go back to work, thanks. The most recent one was last week, when again I was busy, as I always am every day, and he was like, mate, I need to talk to you, it's important. And I was like, it's not another business idea, is it? And he's like, yeah, but this time I've got a really good business idea. So I was like, okay, what's your business idea? And he said, what we do is, he was like, oh, actually, first of all, he said, do you know how to create an app? And I said, no, I think most people, it's like their job to create an app. I don't just know how to create an app. And he was like, okay, well, maybe we could find someone, because this idea I think is really going to do well. So I'm like, okay, what's the idea, mate? He said we should create an app that allows people to message women who are within a certain amount of feet to ask them if they're interested. And I was like, this is a joke, right? And he was like, no, I think it'd be a really good idea. And I was like, but Darnell, don't you think that could potentially have some bad sides to it? Like maybe women don't really want to have any man within their area to just have access to message them. And he was like, yeah, no, just to find out if they're interested. And I was like, but there are already apps for that. If a woman is single and wanting to find someone, they can just use Tinder. And he was like, what's Tinder? And I'm like, Darnell, you need to do your research, especially if you're thinking about bringing out some kind of dating app or something. You need to do your market research. And he's like, oh, right, okay, so maybe that one's a non-starter. And I'm like, yeah, I think that one might just be a non-starter. So I've been overloaded with business ideas from Darnell, so I know who to go to if I ever want a business partner. Just endless stream of ideas that are so important. That Bless him. He's a really nice guy, but he's just so unprofessional. We have this, there's this girl in my team, and I'm a little bit scared of her, if I'm honest. I don't like to judge people, but I am a bit scared of her, and I get the impression from her that if she wanted to get me killed, she probably could. So her appraisals always go really well. She's one of my top performers in that sense, because I'm fucking terrified if I see her on the street. But Darnell came up to me, this was yesterday, he came up to me and he was like, oh mate, just so you know, that girl, she's got to leave because she's got to go see her parole officer. And I was like, oh okay. I had no idea, but that's fine. I didn't ask any questions, and he followed up with, yeah, 15 years she did. She served 15 years for armed robbery. And I was like, oh, do you think you should be telling me that? And he was like, well, I just thought, what with you being her manager, you should probably know. And I was like, oh, right, okay. Thanks for letting me know. And then he said, oh, also just thought I'd let you know, that new girl that started as well, she's just got out. She did 5 years in prison. I was like, oh, right, okay. Didn't ask any questions. And he went, yeah, she was a meth head. And I was like, oh, okay. And he said, I did ask that she was clean, though, obviously, before I gave her the job. And I said, I'm sure you guys figured something out, it's none of my business. And he was like, yeah, she did ask me to keep it on the down low, so obviously don't tell anyone. So I'm like, of course, I won't tell anyone. Says me, fucking saying it on my YouTube channel, but you don't know where I work and you don't know her name, so it's fine. Anyway, as I mentioned, he sits behind me, so I can hear a lot of what he's saying. He had this conversation with me in the morning. By lunchtime, one of the other ladies who does not manage anyone and has nothing to do with this individual, she's talking to Darnell at his desk, and I can just hear his voice Like, just, when you can sort of overhear a little bit. I just heard him say, yeah, 5 years. Yeah, just got out. Meth head. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why are you telling everyone? And then by lunchtime, the mailman was over at Darnell's desk, and again, all I overheard him say was, yeah, and I did check that she was clean, yeah. And I'm just thinking, you are unbelievable. You can't just go around telling everyone. I mean, this guy, like, he's comical, but he's so unprofessional. I'm glad I never told him anything, to be honest, because everyone would know about it. Everyone would know about it. So anyway, that's my life. I've got a pretty good relationship with him, to be fair. I like him. He's a nice guy. He brings humour to the office, but my God, is he incompetent? But that's not what's important. But anyway, on the topic of business ideas, here I am slagging off my boss and talking about how how unrealistic he is. I mentioned this before in one of my speed builds, but I was reminded of, because when I moved out, I left my computer to my sister. She probably doesn't even use it. She's got a new computer since then, but she sent me a picture because she had gone in there, and she had just seen that I had made a folder, and it said business ideas. I was pulling a Darnell, and she clicked on it, and it was just one Word document, also titled business idea. She opened it, and it was just one sentence. And it was cake pants in all different colours and flavours. That was a business idea I came up with when I was 19. So, for those of you that don't believe I've always been an entrepreneur, if that's not proof, I don't know what is. But yeah, going back to my boss, he's just the most inappropriate person ever. We have, my office is predominantly, there are some males, but it's predominantly female environment. And I'm sure he loves that. He often makes comment about how much he loves working with so many women. That's a different story for a different day. But he also, for some reason, knows so much gossip, and he cannot keep anything to himself. Like, we had a fairly new girl. Obviously, I'm going to change all of the names of these examples. But we have a fairly new girl called Melissa. She's pretty young, I don't actually know how old she is, but, she looks to me like maybe she's in her early 20s, like she's quite young. To me, that's very young. And, again, Darnell struck up conversation and gave me information I didn't ask for. And he just said, have you noticed how many times Melissa's been going to the bathroom recently? And I said, no, I haven't really noticed that. And he was like, yeah, probably because she's pregnant. And I was like, oh, is she? And he was like, yeah, she is. Yeah, she told me. And I was like, oh, well, congratulations to her. And is she happy for people to know? Should I congratulate her? And he said, no, probably best not. She doesn't really want people to know because it's actually her best mate's boyfriend's baby. So she doesn't want people to know. And I was like, I don't think you should be telling people then, Darnell. And he's like, yeah, but it's different with you because, you're our manager. Beside the fact that, again, later on that day, I can just hear his voice with someone who's got nothing to do with us being like, yeah, best friend's boyfriend's baby, yeah. And I was like, I really don't need to know this. In fact, I'd rather not know any of this. And he was like, yeah, well, Sophie in your team? And I was like, yeah, I know Sophie. Sometimes I can't resist because he just offers it up so openly. So I'm like, yeah, go on, I know Sophie. What's going on with Sophie? And he's like, well, we had a bust up here a couple of years ago because you see that guy over there? And I'm like, yeah. He said she used to, on her lunch breaks, she used to go back in his car and they would just have sex on their lunch breaks. And I was like, how do you know that? And he was like, well, she told me. Asked me not to tell anyone. And I'm like, right, cool, she did. He's like, yeah, she told me not to tell anyone, but there wasn't really anything I could do because his girlfriend turned up to the office saying, where's Sophie? I'm going to kill that bitch. I had to talk her down in the end, tell her I was going to call the police, and then she left. And I was like, when did this all happen? He said, oh, it was about 2 years ago. I was like, oh, right. Wow. So this, Darnell knows everything about everyone. He doesn't know anything about me because I know his tricks. He can't keep a secret. But I just think, man, this guy. And I'm sure I'm not the only person that knows everything that's happened with all these people. I'm sure it's so much drama that he knows about. But the moral of the story is, don't trust Darnell, okay? If you have anything going on in your life, don't fucking tell him, because everyone will know about it. But there we go, there's a speed build. I'm thinking about, because I miss doing speed builds, I don't really do them so often, but I'm thinking about doing like maybe a couple of specials where I'll like speed build something nostalgic. Like I've been watching so much Charmed recently, literally so much that I've been having dreams that I'm, you know, one of the witches. It's been fucking brilliant. So I'm thinking about maybe doing like a couple of special speed builds where I'll do like a speed build of the Charmed house and then the characters, and then the whole voiceover will just be about Charmed, and then maybe we'll do one for like Sabrina the Teenage Witch, just like nostalgic 90s shows. They're not always going to be witch related, by the way, but I'm thinking about doing that. So let me know in the comments if there are any old shows that you miss, and if I've seen them too, then I'll do a little special video for it. But anyway, that's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.